Okay, it's 8 p.m. We're in Joinville, and today is March 25th, 2026. Today's live stream. The Great Conflict. The big conflict is something that, look, I think I've had since I was very young. I lived in Goiovere, and in my room, still in the new house where I lived, moving. I only remember the new house. I don't know. I think I was 8 or 10 years old. I don't remember. I was in my room and it came to my mind like, man, but what would I still be thinking if I had been born into a different culture? What if I had been born a woman into a different culture? What do I think would be the same? What is my motto? What is my belief? Who am I? In my way of speaking, in my way of being, what remains the same and what is different with culture? I continue to be the same body, the same DNA, and suddenly with the small change of being a man or a woman, what changes? What changes? And this question has been on my mind for a long time, and now it has begun to settle. 61 years old. It began to settle into this great conflict, the major conflict, the big conflict. The great conflict is this. We're going to talk about it today. At a general level, we're going to approach it in a translational way from the fall of Tupã and Pachamama to the war with time, the war seeking your attention. One, I mean, there used to be great deities here in Latin America like Tupã and Pachamama, but then we came and destroyed all of that. But now we have a war for time and attention, for your attention. It has changed a lot, and that's the big conflict. And we're going to understand the big conflict in a deeper way. And why the big conflict? The big conflict isn't something outside of you. The atomic bomb will destroy the planet, another planet will collide with us, and everything will end. I'm going to address the essence of what this narrative, this speech, this possibility brings to your life, to my life, so that you can find the essence of who you are. Who are you before you realize you're a man or a woman? Who are you when you realize you're alive? The essence of today, the great conflict, is this. Who are you when you realize you're alive? Basically, I'm going to try to give you that today. Freedom. The freedom from that constructed thing, from your cultural self, your false self. There's a self that you adopt, that self, I adopt that self, but that self is false, it's cultural. If I were in another culture, those thoughts or beliefs wouldn't even exist within me. So it's not part of me, yes, but it's who I am. Jesus. The great conflict is precisely this prison of narratives within ourselves, keeping us, I would say, within a moral principle that entered my head without my critical thinking skills. It entered my head through situational pressure from parents, caregivers, someone. It pressured me, and by pressuring me, I went to zone 3, fear. And the narrative took over. Why? Because my critical thinking decreased and the narrative took hold. It entered, it became ingrained, it stayed, and now it controls my body, it controls my position, it controls my perception of free will, it controls my sense of morality. This is not a woman's thing, this is not a man's thing. This ingrained morality, which I didn't have. Look how interesting, right? This is the big conflict. So, for us to understand this well, and it's a complex subject, I mean, and I'll start precisely with, and I'm going to talk, and I need you to feel it. I have to get you and me to feel something. So look, the first thing we're going to do is try to take a deep breath. It takes longer for you to take a deep breath and release your tensions in this moment. And you can close your eyes too, close them and release them, making the exhalation time longer than the inhalation time. And at that moment, where is your attention being directed? At that moment, the song comes in. You understand attention to the live performance, attention to the object on the side. That's the great conflict. Let's repeat again. Your long breath, make an expression not extremely deep, let it all out. And here in the middle, breathe more deeply, everything, and release slowly. You are lengthening your breath, you are increasing the spaces within you. So you have increased increase the space of the exhalation, because then you increase your heart rate variability, you increase your critical sense, allowing for a long exhalation. And try to relax. So now you have more space and movement. Where does your attention go? That's you. You're neither man nor woman. You're a living being that has had space and movement. Your body will now signal and regulate itself. Interesting, isn't it? So today, the political war isn't a political, religious, and economic war. It's a war for attention span. When you relax, let go, free your movements, where does my attention go? Is it to my cell phone? Is it to the television? Is it to the noise? Is it to the honking? Is it to the horn? Where does my attention go? And that's the big conflict, because what happens? The attention is being, it's shifted, pulled to certain places, and there with attention you build your world. Only with attention do you build your world. So it's extremely important to know who controls your attention, because whoever controls your attention and protection is controlling the perceptions you are building in your life. It sounds like difficult to say, right? Go back, breathe deeply for as long as you can. If you can't hold it for long, it's because your chest is already full of air. Release that air. Take a deep breath, exhale slowly, relax your muscles, close your eyes. What's catching your attention right now? Man, it's a stomach ache, it's a backache. Today, the great conflict is a conflict of attention, and fundamentally, in this conflict of attention, we have a moral principle established in the individual, or a moral principle outside the organic. And this is what I'm going to talk to you about now. You're there with your child, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years old, playing, and your caregivers at some point want you to have a certain attitude, want to control a posture you're having at that moment. One hits your hand, another caresses you. So what happens? At that moment, the caregiver comes and scares the child. Fear. Either the child is seeking a certain sense of belonging, a search for belonging, fear, guilt, or they desire something, a desire for something. When desiring, when feeling guilt, when feeling fear, when seeking belonging, my critical sense now diminishes a little. I am more open to a narrative entering, to a phrase entering, to a behavior entering, without me having the critical sense to observe, to elaborate together, to proactively form my brain together and not have someone else forming my brain for me, so that I get lost, become a cultural self, a self that is not me. I am a living being. Do you understand? So at that moment when the child is there, when she's seeking belonging, or when she feels guilty about something, or afraid, or has a desire, I can insert a narrative that isn't hers, that she didn't participate in building, but that child was me. That child was you. And that narrative is in your head. It reminds me a lot now. I have a partner, friend, business partner, wife. I think all of that together, a little bit of everything together. And this week she told me that she was talking to her father, and her father said something. When he said that, she said, "Stop." It took me years to get that phrase out of my head. Stop. I don't want that phrase anymore. That phrase doesn't belong to me. I am not it. That's what I'm telling you, to put phrases, ideas, and beliefs that aren't ours in our heads right now. The great conflict of the fall of Tupã and Pachamama, the war, and with its time for its attention span, the contemporary war for its attention span, is a watershed moment now for its attention span. When I talk about Tupã and Pachamama, okay, Christianity came and really destroyed it. Christianity came and ended. And you, are you religious? That's it. It was terrible, terrible. Millions of people wiped out. It was total genocide. Okay, fine. That's what Christianity did when it arrived here. So, for example, when you talk about an Amerindian cosmology, a cosmology of Tupã and Pachamama, Tupã, just so you know, is Tupi Guarani. And this god Tupã, this Tupã activity, when there is thunder, look, Tupã is speaking to the mountains. It's something very related to the territory, what happens here in this place, in this house, in this environment, because I am the territory. This is a very strong concept I'm asking. I am the territory, I perceive it, my attention is on the territory, here now on the territory. And Pachamama is already a living being that sustained all the cycles of life, the water, the rain, life, sprouting, flowering. I myself would be part of Pachamama. So Pachamama is a fantastic Andean culture. I like it very much. So what do I get from this? And I like to act, and it's good to act. This lack of preconception, this respect, this Amerindian cosmology, connecting to the territory. I strongly emphasize this. Many times today we are connected to internet videos with lies all the time, one after another, grabbing our attention. Hold on a minute. The great conflict used to be almost religious, political, drawing attention for its time. Today, the great conflict is in the media. Those who are interested in religious themes know about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Today, the four horsemen are the horsemen of social media. So we're talking about Google, Facebook, Amazon, X, the horsemen of social media. They control the attention span of a large mass of the population. And that's what we're talking about today. So what happens? In Native American cosmology, you connect to the territory, you connect with each other here, what we're going to do here in flesh and blood, what we are and where we are. But the great conflict kidnaps you from the territory where you are and you enter a bubble. What captures your attention? That's where the great conflict happens, and that's when a cultural self, a bubble self, begins to form. And we want to help you break free from that false self, that bubble self, that cultural self that isn't you, that self that has always been with me, controlling my behaviors, attitudes, desires, and wishes to go here, to go there, to buy this or that. And it's not me, it's narratives crammed into my head without my input. Because these are narratives that were placed in my head when I was seeking belonging, when I felt guilty, when I was afraid, when I felt desire. The narrative entered me without any critical sense on my part, but it entered and controls me. This narrative is me, a cultural self. It's not a living self, it's a self rooted in the local culture, in this time, in this space, and this cultural self. A cognitive bubble, a social media bubble, a king bubble, there was a religious bubble. You can notice that some religious things, I'm against that because you buy into it. Oh, because God says this, why does God say that? Oh, because you don't know why. Why don't you know why? Because the narrative was frustrated without you building it together. I also sent the That's what I also based myself on, which is how you raise children, okay? How to raise children without conflict. And to raise a child without conflict, you have to be somewhat responsive in the sense that, and I'll explain this responsiveness, you first have to be aware of where you are. I always divide it into zones 1, 2, and 3, okay? Zone 1. When you're in a state of mind to do something, you're focused on doing something, you're very focused. Zone 3, you're hijacked something, you've hijacked it. The desire for belonging, the fear, the longing, the craving, you've hijacked it. And then you're in a strong, rigid narrative, your breathing is short, you're focused or obsessed with something. Zone 3. And zone 2, ah, in zone 3, you're locked in like this and your body is slumped. In zone 1, your torso is leaning forward a little. In zone 2, you're centered and you're in the territory. So it's more or less like this. Breathe, feel your body, feel your feet on the ground, feel the movement around you. I'm here, zone 2. This responsiveness of the educator is very important. They go to zone 2 and now look at the child. Where is the child? If the child is in zone 1, they are focused on doing something, they are running, walking. So you have to give them short, quick ideas, give them that balance in the game, change the game, let's do that, because they are in zone 1. If they are in zone 3, they are on the defensive. She might even be breaking down. She might be in the middle of a tantrum that has already taken over. The beginning of a tantrum is something that sometimes the child pretends to be going into, but she's just pretending she has control. She negotiates with you at the beginning. Suddenly she enters a moment where she can't undo it and she gets lost in the emotion. And she no longer has control there. She's in the middle of a tantrum. There's no more control. Zone 3 taken over. And then, since it's a small child, 4 or 5 years old, you see that pajama they threw on the floor. The guy, okay, when you're hijacked by your logical and rational processes that you didn't put together, that's cognitive garbage. You don't open yourself up to learning new things. You don't open yourself up to considering that it has nothing material about it, that it was just a false truth shoved into your head about what God is, what is good, what is right and wrong. And sometimes an extremely simple statement like this is right, this is wrong facilitates your understanding and gives you a sense of relief. The body releases some kind of endorphin, and you get a real feeling when the explanation is simple. But sometimes the explanation is a lie. Yes, but it's simple, and I felt good. But it's a lie. Oh, but I'm fine. And if I'm fine with an explanation, it's because it's true. It's a lie. It's human bias. It's human bias. That's our great conflict. It's not because you relaxed that you found the truth. You may have relaxed because you took complex problems and simplified them. And by simplifying complex problems, you are knowledgeable, you are fine, therefore you have the truth. You don't. It does not have. A cultural self is lost and it will control you. It will control your life, your desires for shopping, for outings, for food, for drink, for clothes. It will control your life. But it's not you who is in control. You've become a zombie, a hostage of a narrative shoved into your head that you didn't participate in. Why didn't you participate? Because you had little critical thinking skills at the time it was shoved into your head. For example, you were getting married, you were at your father's, mother's, or uncle's funeral. Someone you were afraid, you had a strong desire for something, you wanted to belong to the group. At that moment, the narrative entered. It entered, but you lack the critical sense to build it together. So this narrative will control you, and you didn't participate. She's not a part of you, but she is. What an interesting conflict that is. So, what we've had since ancient times in colonialism, the first thing that was done in colonialism here in Latin America was to reorganize attention. Before, attention was on the territory, on the river, on the forest, on us, we are here. Now, attention is reorganized. Now, attention is on the beyond, the afterlife, or whatever. So it's reorganized. I take the entire population and place their attention on another point. And this group, someone controls the narrative, the priest, the mayor, I don't know, the political or religious leader controls the narrative. So I take the narrative away from the present moment, from the territory, from us, from togetherness, and replace it with a narrative that someone controls. And the control of this narrative begins to instill this narrative in people's minds because that person will want belonging, they will want to be together. So now we have a control of narratives. How was this done in the past? Temples were destroyed, indigenous temples were destroyed, rituals were prohibited. The territory is no longer the main center of meaning. Look what I'm telling you. The meaning was here. My square, the little river, the woods, my mountain, my desert, my street. That was the center back then. Now it's not. The meaning now is PT, it's PL, it's PP, it's right, it's left, it's ideology, it's believers. The narrative has disappeared. The narrative has ceased to be territory. It has become ideological. It has left your body. It has become a false narrative, but one that generates votes and a lot of movement and money and hijacked attention time. And then I see people really stuck in an addiction of watching one video, then another, then another, then another, searching and searching, and time has been hijacked. The narrative is no longer about them, about who we are, about what we are built into. That's why I really like the piece by hand approach. It's an idea of these living beings, DNA that's all around us, building itself into something different. And then we have this columnism. It's changed the attention span. The attention span has been thrown here. Let me go back a little. I'm going to talk about something now about the state. Irresponsible in this great conflict. In this great conflict, you pressure the individual, you pressure the child, 3, 4, 5 years old, 2 years old, 1 year old, 1 month old. You pressure them with aggressive things, and in this aggressive situation, they reacted as a way out of that aggressive situation. This reaction that they had, that the child had, that the baby had, was because of the aggressive environment they were in, and they went to zone 3, fear. But this reaction starts to become automatic for her. At 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 40, 50 years old, 60 years old, her self has been hijacked. Because I had found a solution, a physical way out of that situation. But that situation isn't something that happens to all children. It was an atypical situation. And it left me with a certain behavior. It left me with a certain brain structure. And this brain formation in some cases is just narratives. In other cases, it's already behavioral. It's already implicit. It's implicit learning. Your body is already going there. You're already going there. So that's what we're talking about. This great conflict is what I'm leaving with you. This freedom that I want to leave with you and also want to have. Knowing that many things that I want, it's not that I want them. It was put there by my dear. I longed for it when I felt guilty, and they placed the blame. By placing the blame, they imposed the narrative. Are you guilty because you unearthed a narrative and that narrative takes over my life? And then I become her without knowing. What kind of free will is that? What kind of free will is that? What kind of moral principle is that? A morality imposed? Moral principles are principles that come from DNA. Various species of life exist, and there's a principle there. No, let's insert a cultural principle. No, it's not Tupã, it's not Pachamama, it's this one here. It's a European religion. Let's put it in because this is love, this is kindness. And behind that, the politician gives me votes, votes for me, votes for me, votes for me. And then you see there's a drift, and the attention is diverted, and you represent speeches, you represent narratives, you no longer even represent your own DNA. Your DNA is simply being used by what was instilled in you. But why do you seek belonging? But why were you feeling guilty, afraid, and longing? How did we end up in this situation? It's interesting because today I was talking to someone and he said, but this principle, this moral principle, how can a doctor approach someone and offer them, look, if you want to be paid, it's cheaper, right? The moral principle is this doctor saying that a lawyer, a doctor who is a person and then becoming the common person, what moral principle is there in that? I told him, wait a minute, we have a The state is irresponsible because, look, the great conflict causes the state to have a state that you are afraid of, searching for belonging, desiring this state, the narrative enters, okay? But our state, which is all of us together in a territory, all human beings in a territory, we have a state. This state also has a narrative that has been hijacked by the super rich. In this narrative hijacked by the super rich are the ones who create money and control the flow of money. People, it's so simple. The super rich create money and the flow of money. Left or right continues. The left, right, and center political parties are still there, and everyone just wants more money. So in reality, the pursuit of money has become a moral principle. And by offering something with or without a receipt, I'm discussing the moral principle of earning more. What moral principle is that? What kind of moral principle is that? I mean, has profit become the moral principle, the pursuit of money? But then you say, if I don't have money, you can't live. That's true. So here we have an irresponsible state because it doesn't give you the minimum to survive. And that minimum is income. The state is the state of Brazil, the Brazil of Brazilians. Brazil has a certain income. It generates wealth. Is this wealth going daily into the hands, into the pigs, Brazilian instant payment system of Brazilians? No, it isn't. So, I mean, if that were the case, we would have a responsible state, and you and I would have a greater sense of belonging to this great Brazilian state. It's us, we're together. Or Latin America, it's us, we're together. Together we are, and we have a common goal. We are together. Let's build a great nation, a great continent. But no, this breaks things up and pits Paraguay against Argentina, Argentina against Brazil. It divides. By dividing what is unique, because the continent is unique, we divide it into pieces, into states, into countries, states and cities. Not the literal division, but the intellectual division of one being against another. And then we are left few, and then we have no strength. And that's why the super rich control this city, and that other city, because there isn't a general union to say, enough is enough, man. What matters is the common good. What matters is that we're together. What matters is each and every one of us having the conditions and critical sense to form, to help build one's own brain formation, and not be subjected to fear, desire, or that lack of belonging, and for the narrative to enter these people and control and create a false cultural self. A self that is, I am a man, I am a woman, I am this, I am that. What is that? You are a living being and you adapt and you live and you want to live a long time, you want to live well, and you want to live without these narratives crammed into your head that you are this, so you do that, you are this, so you do this. That's why I'm offering you these liberating ideas today. And how do I apply these liberating ideas? Deep breathing. This opens up space in your life, a lot of space. Release the air for a long time, slowly. Because this introduces heart rate variability, it puts you in zone 2, where your critical thinking skills are at their best. I'm improving my critical thinking skills. Why? Because I'm exhaling very slowly and deeply, standing firmly on the ground, feeling the moment. Not with digital things influencing me. I'm in the territory where I am. Without a chair, I'm sitting. I feel the chair. I feel the territory. I am this, part of this. Where is my attention going? This is the great conflict. It's stealing your attention now. I just wanted to leave you with a big hug, brothers and sisters. Sayings, phrases, and beliefs that have been put in your head. Build your life the way you want, with your common sense, within this zone, too, this balance of sitting, of thinking about life. Life ends, but it can generate great moments for you now. Good luck. Big hug. See you next Wednesday.